hills and valleys of South Wales stands a place where history still breathes. A place that once roared with life, sweat and steam. The Big Pit Coal Mine. A monument to the age when coal built a nation and powered the world. Coal was the heartbeat of South Wales through the 19th century. The valleys here were once alive with the sound of winding engines, the clatter of trams, and the hum of thousands of men working below the earth. The Big Pit opened in 1880, but coal had been mined in Blaenafon since the late 1700s. The fuel from these seams fed the furnaces of the Blaenafon ironworks, drove steam trains, and powered ships that crossed the oceans. It was said that coal from the South Wales valleys lit the lamps of London and kept the engines of the Royal Navy burning bright. For the miners, life underground was dark, dangerous, and unrelenting. Each morning, they descended more than 300 feet into the pit. The air was thick with coal dust, and the tunnels were narrow and damp. Accidents were common. Explosions, roof falls, flooding were always just a moment away. In 1923, at the Marine Colliery in nearby Coombe, 439 men lost their lives in a single blast, a tragedy that haunted every miner who went underground. Many began their working lives as children. At just 12 years old, boys were sent down as trappers, opening and closing the heavy doors that kept air flowing through the mine. Yet, within this harsh world, there was also pride. The pit bound communities together. Families worked side by side, fathers, sons, and brothers sharing danger and laughter in equal measure. Former Big Pit worker Terry Mason once said, "Irrespective of what you hear about mining, it being dark, wet, and it is true, there are a lot of positives. We built up close friendships. That was great." Underground, trust meant survival. Above ground, the community it created became the soul of Blaenafon. By the early years of the 20th century, the Big Pit was producing more than 250,000 tons of coal each year. It endured strikes, depressions, and 2 world wars. In 1930, over 1,300 men worked here. But as the decades passed, change was inevitable. Oil and gas began to replace coal, and the valley's great collieries started to close. As one miner later reflected, "We could see the writing on the wall, but nobody wanted to believe it." The Big Pit finally closed in 1980, ending a century of production. But its story did not end in silence. 3 years later, it reopened as the Big Pit National Coal Museum, not just to preserve buildings and machinery, but to keep memories alive. Visitors still descend in the same cage the miners once used, their helmet lamps cutting through the blackness below. As former miner David Trapnell said, "You can read books and look at pictures, but you need to go underground to actually witness what it was like." Today, the Big Pit forms part of the Blaenafon industrial landscape, recognized by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site. It stands not for profit or power, but for people, for the generations who carved their lives from the coal seams of Wales. The story of the Big Pit is the story of labour, resilience, and identity, a story of darkness and light, of hardship and pride. The story of the Big Pit is, quite simply, the story of Wales itself.